Hello and welcome to Back at Camp, Mojave County's only outdoor television show. I'm your host, Don Martin, and on today's show, I have what is maybe the hottest team in Mojave County as far as bass fishing is concerned. They're going to share with you some of the secrets to become a successful fisherman if you're fishing any of these Colorado River lakes. So don't go away, we'll be right back and we're going to hear from one of the top teams in Mojave County. Welcome back to Back at Camp. I'm your host, Don Martin. With me today is arguably one of the best bass fishing teams in the county at this time. I want to welcome Tina Kennedy and Shane Moline.
How you doing, Don?
Welcome. Now, these two have paired up this year and have been fishing in the bass fishing circuit, and they've done pretty well. Shane, kind of give me an idea how you and Tina got together as partners, because you and I have been partners in tournaments, and I feel like you threw me under the bus here.
There's some commitment issues there, Don.
Commitment issues, okay.
No, me and Tina, we've known each other for a long time.
Okay.
And we started seeing each other a few years ago, and she's seen my passion for bass fishing, and I took her out a few times, and we enjoyed the time on the water, so we wanted to kind of step it up, and we're starting with the team circuits. We're hoping to move forward here in maybe this year or even into next year where we can go out and fish some of the bigger stuff.
Okay. Now, just so we can go back in the past, now you've been fishing competitive for a long time, done really well.
Yeah, since 1996. We started a local bass club here in Kingman. Got to meet some bigger type pros down in Havasu through the club, and kind of took hold of it, and I've really gone through the ranks and stepped up to each level.
Right, and you won a boat or two, and a little bit of money.
Yeah, I've won a little bit of money.
I've
had a lot of success.
A lot of success. Primarily on Havasu?
No, actually, I've had success all the way up to Northern California, all the way down to the Central Arizona lakes, Mojave, Meade. I prefer Havasu, but
you do really, really well.
I like Havasu. It's my style. So
when people say Shane Moline, they always blurt out Havasu. So for some reason, you just those bass just seem to want to just jump in the boat. So, but you fished all over Arizona. You fished California too. So, and you fished in different circuits. What are some of the professional circuits you guys fished in?
I fished myself in the early 2000s. I fished the FLW stuff. Not the top of the line, but I fished the next levels down.
Right.
I fished the old Redmans that were out. I fished one draws, Angler's Choice, Pro-Ams.
Right.
Then there's been a lot of, in the past, there's been a lot of circuits that come up and then they kind of weigh off. I've tried to support them also.
Right. So now this year you decided that Tina shares your passion for the outdoors, and she wanted to learn more about this. So you took a big giant leap and said, okay, we're gonna fish some team tournaments.
Yeah.
And what have you done so far? Here it is. It's March, and how many tournaments you guys fished so far?
Me and her, we fished 3 tournaments. We started in February. We've been on the water, I think, all but maybe 3 or 4 weekends this year.
Wow.
We spent probably already 30 to 40 days on the water.
Wow.
We started in February with a throw together by Blue Water Bass Casino, or it's a Blue Water Big Bass Classic.
Okay.
And we started down there, and then we've moved into some tournaments on Havasu. This weekend we start a 3-week stretch on Lake Mojave.
Wow. Now, Tina, did you fish much before you?
I never fished.
Oh, you had never fished?
No.
So this was a whole new thing for you.
Yes.
And now I can tell you, I fished with him before. He can be a brutal teacher. I mean, what he knows is awesome.
Oh yeah.
And if you watch him, he can absolutely show you.
Oh yeah, I've learned so much already.
Yeah. But he's probably a little more gentler on you than he was on me.
I don't know about that.
Well, you miss a spot, and he's telling you, hey, if you'd have come over 6 inches and hit that shady spot, you'd have got that fish in there. Well, you're fishing behind him, and it's like fishing behind a vacuum cleaner. I mean, I'm like, hey, are you going to leave any fish for me to even try for, or do you just want me to get the net for you? But yeah, like I say, I fished a couple of tournaments with him up on Meade, and we did really well, and I even got him fishing for stripers, which he used to call white carp, and dang, he's the only guy I know that I've ever fished with on a striper tournament that put plastic down in his boat before we went striper fishing, because he didn't want all the stuff all over his boat. But as it turned out, we kind of co-angled the biggest fish that was caught, and now is the second biggest fish ever been caught in that tournament. And I think we won $1,000 on that deal. So that was a pretty healthy deal. But so we've got him involved in some striper fishing stuff, and with Striper-Rama coming up in June, We got to see if you might want to bring Tina. She'll give you a lesson on how catching big stripers.
Nope, not gonna run her.
Oh, no. Well, so this year, you guys, you fished this Parker tournament. You fished 2 tournaments on Lake Havasu.
Yeah.
And you guys did a lot of pre-fishing down there. I heard this year the fishing at Havasu has been nothing short of phenomenal.
With the cold fronts that came through in February, it really pushed the spawn back. It held them off as long as it possibly could, and then finally, even with 54-degree water temps, they moved up in a huge flight. And we were down there the week that they did it, and we actually were scheduled to fish the tournament, but there was a bunch of no-shows.
Oh,
so
boy.
we weren't able to, which worked out for us. We got to actually save a pot of fish we'd found, and we'd rolled down there the next weekend and had a bunch of boat troubles and only got a half a day of practice. Fortunately, in that half a day, we actually stumbled into another better pot of fish, and we fished the tournament the next day. And we had a 5-fish limit over 20 pounds.
Wow. And on that day, I mean, like I say, the smallmouths at Havasu have just went crazy down there. I mean, as far as not only the numbers but the sizes. I mean, now you're hearing about and seeing 4 and 5 pound and plus smallmouths, which that used to be a pretty dynamic largemouth lake. And I know in looking at the tournaments and seeing what people are catching, now it looks like the smallmouths are the fish to catch.
Yes and no. I mean, it's actually a dynamic largemouth lake for size. The one thing that disappointed me in the whole lake is the largemouth have moved off to kind of follow the smallmouth patterns. So you have to fish
really?
a lot more offshore now, which is what we've been doing. We've been fishing ledges down there. We've been looking at ledges anywhere from 5 feet to 18 feet.
Right. So you're not, these smallmouth aren't what we consider structure oriented as far as they're up in under 2 feet of water, tucked up in under tules and overhangs. And that kind of stuff.
Not the big ones. You'll see a bunch of little, 1.5 pound, 2 pounders up there. But if you want to get into the big ones and you want to get into the schools, smallmouth is a more school orientated fish. And if you want to get into the schools and load the boat in a hurry with the swim baits here, you've got to get out in that little deeper water.
Okay, so and I know in fishing you in the past when you do pre-fish that there's days that you don't even throw nothing in the water. All you got your trolling motor on high and polarized glasses, and you're just running and looking.
Yeah, what we're doing now that I have a
watch
committed team partner.
Okay, I was gonna say, now watch out what you say here.
She drives. She puts on the kill switch, the life jacket. I put on my life jacket, and I stand up on the front, and we cover miles and miles.
So you're looking for fish.
I'm looking for fish, and I'm looking for structure. There's some keys to ledges that make a ledge a good ledge compared to a ledge that doesn't have these key things on them, which we're gonna kind of not go into.
Okay, all right.
We're looking for that more than anything. Right now, the lake is crystal clear. It's starting to get chewed up with the boat traffic, so it's starting to murky up a little bit. But we spent a lot of time the first part of March and late February looking and GPS and structure.
So you're actually when you see something that you think is good, you're actually GPSing.
I am GPSing in notes. And
you make notes on it. Now, in the shallower stuff, because it's gin clear, you can actually see the fish.
Sometimes.
But if you see a structure and it's fits what you're looking for, even if it's 15, 18 foot deep, you got to believe there's fish there.
Well, what the good thing is, go with post-frontal conditions, and with the smallmouth, you'll actually see the smallmouth suspended above the structure. So if you see the ledge and you see the stuff on it, a lot of times you will see them smallmouth in 10 foot of water over 18 to 20 foot of water.
And we know that smallmouth typically are going to spawn earlier in colder water than our largemouth do in these, especially Colorado River lakes. And so he's just he's using you as a driver, and you just kind of motor around, and he's looking and marking, and you're keeping the boat on the straight and narrow. Now, when you guys are pre-fishing, are you trying to stick any fish?
Never.
So you don't stick
Never,
fish? Never.
Not this time of year. Now, come summertime, you're going to have to. The lakes are going to be murky. You can graph them, but you need to check your size. A lot of times you'll swim them, which means you got your hooks covered up with little plastic covers right here. And if you cover your hook up with that cover, the fish will actually eat it. And then as they swim off, you can kind of shake it, and that'll come out of them. And that hook, that plastic cover, doesn't allow that hook to go into them.
Right.
And it doesn't really spook them.
So you're just basically, it gives you an idea what the size of that fish is without setting a hook to him, so that he doesn't have any bad memories about eating that particular bait.
And with smallmouths, if you get them fired up too with catching one fish, sometimes they'll disperse. You don't want to disrupt the school.
Oh, so if you catch one and you dump him back in, he goes down there. All of a sudden, your fish just gonna be gone.
The big thing with smallmouth is they'll follow. You catch one and there'll be 4 or 5 following it, and they're typically size orientated. So when you pull them up, they disperse out, and maybe you lose 1 or 2 that doesn't go back to the school, and that can be costly in a tournament.
So you're saying when they're size orientated that fish of similar size stay together in a school.
Smallmouth is like that a lot. Yeah.
Now, is that even with this spawning situation? I mean, aren't these the males go in and then and get the beds ready? Does males get the bed or the female?
Males do. Like I was telling you with the pods of fish we're finding, that's exactly what we're finding. We're finding pre-stage areas that are loaded up with the bigger fish. Now we can go out and catch 40, 50 fish a day right now. I mean, it's just phenomenal. But we tried to avoid that. We tried to stay off of the shallows, stay off of the small fish, and look for these big pods of fish. To find 2 pods of fish, we probably have 4 days of driving the lake.
Wow.
To find the pods of fish that we were able to, place very well with.
Well, if you're weighing in over 20 pounds of fish, 5 fish, that's a 4-pound average. That's a stud fish in Arizona.
In 2 tournaments, we've weighed just over 20 and just under 19, and our big fish has only been 431.
So everything's
4 pounds.
Yeah. How many largemouths out of those have you got?
In 2 weeks, the first week we got on some good largemouth, but the second week in those tournaments we never caught a largemouth.
So it was everything you caught and everything you turned in.
Smallmouth.
Smallies.
We got dialed in on them, and we got dialed in on a really solid pattern. And I was able to help out Ryan Chan and Wade Reeves here in town on the same pattern, and they were able to weigh some big weights too.
Wow. Well, look, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the actual tournaments that you guys fished and some of the things. I don't expect you to tell us the deep dark secrets, but you can tell us about some of the baits you got here and how you would typically fish them in our Colorado River lakes. Folks, when we come back, we're going to give you some advice. If you're a bass fisherman, you're going to want to stay tuned and listen to how Shane and Tina have been catching these monster weights of smallmouth bass down in the Colorado River, especially at Lake Havasu. So don't go away. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Welcome back to Back at Camp. I'm your host, Don Martin, and with me today is one of the hottest teams in bass fishing circuits in Mojave County, Tina Kennedy and her partner, Shane Moline. Now, Shane, real quickly, tell me about the 3 tournaments that you and Tina have been in and how you guys did.
Okay, yeah, the one in February was a real brutal tournament. It rained on us for 7 straight hours. We were on almost a late winter pattern. We were dead stick and jerk baits down on the Colorado River in heavy current. We were basically getting them into an eddy and just letting them float. I didn't bring no hard baits with us, but they were a hard jerk bait. They look similar to this, but moreover, they're hard, and they have different treble hook assortments on them.
Right.
But these are softer.
How'd you guys do?
We ended up 5th in that one. We tied for 4th, but we lost in a big fish by 100th of an ounce.
Oh my goodness.
So we got bumped down to 5th.
Okay. So then you went in March this year or this month. You guys fished a Monterey Bass Club tournament down at Havasu?
Yeah, it's actually the Monterey Bass Company, and they put on a multitude of circuits. They have singles or seniors, couples, pro circuit, pro teams, super teams, and we fished a pro team on Lake Havasu. There was about 29 boats in this tournament.
Okay.
And we got down there early on Thursday to practice and immediately had boat troubles.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so we weren't able to get a whole lot of practice in for that one.
Still did okay, caught a lot of fish.
Yeah, we probably caught over 30 fish. We caught and released probably at least close to 30 fish over 3 pounds.
Wow.
We kept our best 5, and they were all 4-pounders. And we weighed in and we finished up 3rd.
With over 20 pounds of fish.
Just over 20 pounds of fish.
Wow, that's incredible to catch that many big fish, and then you finish 3rd. What did the first place team get?
A little over 24.
Gee, it was almost a 5-pound average. Now, were they smallies or?
No, they were actually keying on largemouth.
They were on largemouth, okay. So now you fished that tournament one day. Then the Kingman Bass Club comes back on Sunday, the very next day. Now you just went out and you released 30 fish over 3 pounds. Most people would say, you used all your fish.
We did.
So what'd you do?
We went fishing.
You just went looking?
We went fishing. We started out right there at Windsor. They released a lot of fish there. We spent the first hour there. We never got bit. So we loaded up and made the run down south, started looking, and it took us maybe about an hour to put 17 pounds in the boat. And then we just kept looking and kept looking, and we'd find a fish here, a fish there, and we caught our last fish that Sunday, 9 minutes before it's time to go in. That
Wow.
bumped us up to almost 19.5 pounds.
Wow. And there was 15 boats in that tournament.
15 boats, yeah.
And when you guys got back and you got a little over 19, how'd you guys do there?
We won that one. We were just slightly above second place. I mean, it was the best tournament the club had ever had.
As far as number of fish?
Weight-wise, number of fish, quality. It was just an outstanding
Yeah, I
tournament.
think if I remember right, 13 of the 15 teams had limits, and one of your proteges, Ryan Chan, he finished in his first ever fishing tournament with him and another guy. They finished sixth. Now, did you know Ryan, right?
Yes, I do.
He's a good kid, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
And his fishing is due to that instruction. I mean, I've known Ryan since he's that big, and Ryan's always been a good fisherman. But I think Shane, through his instruction and helping him, has brought him up that level. And so here he goes. He fishes the first tournament with one of his friends, and they're just out of the money, and they're in 6th out of 15. They fished against some guys that are veterans. So, like I say, Shane's a good teacher, and I suspect you're seeing that all the time. That with his tutelage, you guys are going to do well.
I hope so.
So you guys win that tournament. So you won the Bass Club tournament. You didn't get big fish.
No, we weren't in the big fish.
That was a largemouth. Got a big
largemouth.
fish, like 495 or something.
Slightly under 5 pounds.
Yeah, it was a toad. And then on that Saturday, though, you guys won 3rd. So now, why don't we show the people out here? We got a bunch of baits right here. Explain to them exactly what kind of baits these are, what they're called, and how you got them rigged.
Well, this assortment pretty much in this area is swim baits, and they're soft swim bait. It's called the Bass Tricks, and this is the trout colored. It's got a slight purple hue to it. It's probably difficult to see, but they're a hollow belly. They're almost like a gets it, and then they have a big paddle tail, and you can see that tail. And in the water, when you're reeling it, it's just going back and forth like that. And the rigging on this is a special rigging that I do. It's just the way I like it. You can see how I have a big treble hook, and it's called a stinger hook, attached to a standard 4-aught belly weighted hook. And the reason I use such a big hook is I don't want this tail to move from this joint right here. I want this tail to move from this joint right here. It's more natural. When you see a fish in the water, the body stays straight and just the tail is moving. So you put this big hook in there to keep it from swinging too much. So I like the tail to swing from here back and forth instead of from here. It's much more natural. Mm-hmm. And this is what it's basically we weight our 2 big weights on. It's very methodic. You throw it out 500 times a day to get the bites you get.
Get 30, 40 bites.
And when you get into a school of fish, you get them fired up. It happens fast. You can catch 7 to 12 fish fast. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to get the schools to fire up. They will headbutt this a lot. They'll come up and they'll just ram it. And that's
trying to stun it, which is what they do on a natural bait.
Yeah, that and with smallmouths, they're really aggressive. They're really territorial. They don't want something like this coming through their territory without some sort of action by them. Mm-hmm. And that's what the stinger hook's rigged like this for. If I was to rig it the other way, where the outside hook was pointed down, it would take these hooks here and touch them to the body too tight, and you would miss a lot of those headbutts. Catch a lot of fish on this on the outside right here, and that comes from them ramming it. One of the key bites with this is when you're reeling it and it just goes slack.
Just the line just comes up.
Fish
slack.
comes up behind it, grabs it, and pushes it, and that's how you get most of your big fish. The smaller fish will do the ramming, but the big fish will actually grab it and push it. But that's
the way that you rig it.
That's the way I rig it. Yeah, I mean it's.
You got a belly weighted hook.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's a special swim bait hook.
Yeah.
And you what size weight you got on that?
That's 3/16.
3/16. Okay. 4-aught hook.
Yeah, it's a 4-aught 28-degree hook, and that allows it to. You can see it allows it to ride in the contour of the bait itself.
Right. Now what about this guy?
This is more of a bottom bouncer. This is a heavy weighted hook. This is probably a 5/16 to maybe a 3/8 weight. The whole bait weighs an ounce. And what it does is it actually, when you come down and you let it sit, it'll sit on the ground like that if you keep a tight line on it. So you kind of just working it across the bottom. Moreover, sometimes the fish will get on a bottom bouncer.
Okay.
That's more kind of relative to when they're in like wood structure, dock type pilings. This is more when they're suspended over ledges,
Right.
in holes, or if you're reeling between structures. You don't
Okay.
want to work this through structure too much.
Right. Now, maybe you can show them how you, by using these, rig those up on it's a setup, and show them how you would normally. Now, this is with a keeper in the front.
Yeah, and this has a keeper too. It's a little different design. This is a corkscrew keeper, and what it is a stainless spring, and it goes into the front of the bait, and you just spin it on there.
Does he rig up for you, or does he make you do this yourself?
He rigs up for me.
Yeah.
And you want it. I don't want it to be tight against the eyelet.
Okay.
I want a little motion there.
Okay.
And then what you do is you kind of measure how far back you want this hook to go through the bait.
Mm-hmm.
Then you kind of pick it and you pull it forward and you push it through. And I bring it all the way out. And make sure
Now this is pretty much weedless too, right?
it can be. I bring it all the way out like that, and then I'll take it, and now the hook is exposed, but all you have to do is just skin hook it,
Right.
and now it's weedless. And so that's how it looks.
So you
rigged.
can pull that through structure.
You
You're not
can.
gonna get hung up.
No, you're not.
Okay.
No,
now another way is a guy's talking about rigging it sideways.
Yeah, and that just is imitating more of a wounded fish. It gives a different action. It's a high pressure, high water or high fishing pressure type area. You may want to just change it up. I've seen guys rig them upside down. I've seen them rig them sideways. I've seen them rig them wacky, right in the middle.
Wow. And that's just to give the fish something different that they've looked at. If they've been seeing a lot of this swim baits fished a different way or one way, this gives them a little different look at it. Say, well, that minnow there looks like he's crippled a little bit. He's an easy target.
The best analogy I can give you is when we're all standing at Centennial Park and we're hearing all the cars go by, and then we hear one go by with a bad muffler. We all turn and look.
Right.
That's what that does. It's a fish with a bad muffler going through the water.
A bad muffler.
This one we're going to rig on the side, and it's the same deal. You just measure your distance, come through the body, come all the way out, and then just skin hook it. Now it's weedless too, but it's rigged on the side, so the tail's going to have a little distorted action. It's not going to have that natural action. It's going to be distorted.
So it's going to look like it's an injured bait fish, and it's just kind of working its way down through the water column.
Yeah.
So, and like you say, to a fish, when they see one that's not perfectly good, that's the one they're going to target.
Typically, yeah. It's all about how much energy they have to exert and for the size of the meal.
Right. Okay, real quick, tell me about some of this other stuff.
These are jigs. These are a silicone skirted jig. It's something we're preparing to go to Mojave for 3 straight weeks.
Okay.
This is the kind of jigs we'll be fishing. This is actually the jig we will fish with the trailer bait on it. And it's a long-legged craw trailer with a football head with a silicone skirted jig. Real light material, so it really fluffs in the water.
Because the water's cold.
Well, the water's not only cold, but it's clear, and so it's more of a sight thing. They see the skirt pulsating. Sometimes you just shake it, sometimes you swim it. And when it hits the bottom, I cut these at different lengths, so it forms like a ball.
So it looks like a crawdad. Well, that's a crawdad imitator, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Now, Shane, real quick, tell me what you guys are planning on doing. What's your rest of your plans for this summer? What are you guys going to do?
Well, we're going to fish some club stuff. We're going to fish, like I say, we'll spend the next 3 weeks on Mojave. And we'll probably run back to Meade for a couple tournaments. And then we're going to actually probably early May, we may catch a Meade tournament. Late May, we're going up to Clear Lake. We're going to do a lot of fishing up at Clear Lake. And when we come back, we're going to get on a good stretch where we're going to try to push real hard and win enough money to pay for the U.S. Open this year.
Wow, awesome. And that's in
July. Middle of July on Lake Meade.
Yeah. Okay, folks, that's all we have time for today. I want to thank Tina. Tina, thank you so much. Shane Moline, thank you. And listen, folks, you're going to be seeing these folks' names in the paper, I assure you, because they're going to do well. He's taught you some stuff here that if you use, you're going to catch more fish on the Colorado River. Until next week, keep your fishing line fresh, keep your firearms oiled, and we'll see you next week back at camp.